Thank you, everyone. Welcome to the Lincoln City Council meeting of September 21st, 2020. In accordance with LB 898, please be advised that a copy of the Opens Meeting Act is posted at the back of the chamber by the northwest door. Jane?
Yes, I wanted to make a few comments. The passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has been deeply felt by so many over our entire country. She will be remembered for her many contributions. Justice Ginsburg said, "Fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you." Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a fighter her entire life. Although small in stature, she was mighty with her work and her words. She was passionate about the pursuit of law and her persistence on including women in all aspects of law and life. She persevered and became a trailblazer for all women taking on a legal career. She was a generous and brilliant mind. She became respected, admired, revered, and a tireless advocate in her fight for justice and equity. Her legal opinions are legendary, and she will be honored for the legal giant that she was. In addition, she was a pop icon, notorious RBG, of epic proportions that has inspired multi-generations of women. She battled whatever health issues that decided to take her on, but she did so with grace, determination, and an indomitable spirit that is a model for us all. She will forever be a force and a voice for good in this world. So after our chair asks for everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, I ask that you take that moment of meditation or silence to honor Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg and her service to our country.
Let us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. The order of business for the City Council is as follows. The clerk will call the items listed on the agenda under public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on an item should come forward after the clerk reads that item. The applicant and those in favor should speak first, then those opposed. The applicant may then make one short rebuttal. Each speaker should begin by stating their name, address, and whether you are speaking in favor or in opposition to the item. Testimony will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. After all public hearings, the council will vote on resolutions and items listed under third reading. On the second and last Mondays of the month, immediately prior to adjournment, anyone may speak on any issue not on the agenda for that date, nor planned on a future date. Will the clerk please call the first item of business?
Our first item of business for today's meeting on September 21st, 2020 is the consent agenda, sections 1 and 2.
Is there anybody who would like to come forward to speak on any of on this consent? Okay, come on.
Good afternoon, Sarah Hoyle. I'm the director of the City and County Human Services Department. I'm here to talk about the Joint Budget Committee funding, which is agenda item 1 under the consent agenda. The city and the county have a long-standing commitment to streamline funding for services for our community members in need. These services provide for enhanced public safety, health, and security for our residents. The present time illuminates these vital services now more than ever. The partnerships with the nonprofits delivering these services is key in that it not only allows us to provide services in a cost-efficient and effective manner, but it also provides an avenue for these agencies to leverage even more funding in our community from the state, from the federal government, and from local agencies as well. This funding is administered through a joint collaborative with elected officials from both the city and the county. From the City Council this year, the representatives are Council Members James Michael Bowers and Council Member Sandra Washington. If you want to add anything.
Either of you two?
No, I'm very proud of the work that you lead us to do. Thank you.
I would agree. You're a rock star, and your reputation really precedes you. So thank you so much for your leadership.
Yeah.
Thank you for your dedication to these services too.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to come forward on items 1A or B? Seeing none, move on.
We can now vote on these items. Item 1A is approving the 2020-21 Joint Budget Committee funding recommendations introduced by Christensen.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded by Councilperson Raybold. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Schob,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1B is approving Beacon Lounge as a Keno satellite located at 311 South 11th Street, introduced by Christensen.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded by Councilperson Raybold. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Ward,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1C is approving a service agreement between the city and Idemia Identity and Security USA LLC for equipment, services, and software licenses for fingerprint equipment for LPD, introduced by Christensen.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded by Councilperson Show.
Yay.
Anybody like to come forward and speak on this?
No, it's too late.
Too late?
Yeah.
Too late. Okay. Please call a roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1D, application of Robbers Cave LLC doing business as Robbers Cave Event Center for an addition of the entire cave complex, plus an outdoor area measuring approximately 109 feet by 81 feet by 54 feet at 925 Robbers Cave Road, introduced by Christensen.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded by Councilperson Raybold. Any questions? Please call the roll.
Christensen,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1E, manager application of Chelsea R. Laparco for Pepper Jacks Development LLC, doing business as Good Evans at 6891 A Street, Suite 102, introduced by Christensen.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded by Councilperson Ward.
Washington.
Washington?
I did too.
Oh.
It's okay.
Jinx.
We'll go with Washington.
All good.
Any other comments, questions? Please call the roll.
Raybold,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Christensen.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Okay.
Items 2A through 2D, introduced by Christensen.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded by Councilperson Shob. Any questions? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Ward,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. That ends our consent agenda. We'll move to section 4, our public hearing liquor resolutions. I'll be calling items 4A, 4B, and 4C together. Application of Casavo LLC doing business as Napoli's for a Class I liquor license at 800 Q Street, Suite 100, and the related manager application of Agron Rahimi for at the location of Napoli's at 800 Q Street. Also, item 4C is application of Bessie and Zeki LLC doing business as Napoli's for an addition of an outdoor area measuring 21 feet by 40 feet at 5571 South 48th Street.
Would you like to come forward? Yeah.
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth as you really believe it to be?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your application.
My name is Basim Shaila.
Okay.
I'm Dora Sheila.
It's
I'm
my son.
translating. What the liquor license?
And I'm applying for liquor license for my new location in Haymarket in Q Street, Suite 100.
Okay.
Because it's my third location right now, and I have in Grand Island for 10 years and for 1 year in the South 48th Street in Lincoln, and now I'm looking to open a new location in Haymarket and Q Street.
And this location at 8th and Q, is that a former restaurant or?
It's a restaurant, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Do we have any questions for them?
I had a question about the manager's application. I was wondering if the manager had taken the training. The application did not show that the manager had taken the training yet. I think the manager's name is Rahimi?
He's not here.
Yes,
Today.
do you know if he's taken the training?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
No, he's have an appointment to go on the training.
Yeah, he has an
Yes.
appointment to go to the training.
Next week.
Next week?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes.
When are you going to be open?
I'm looking to open second week in October.
Okay.
Okay.
Yay.
Yeah, that's good. Okay,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to come forward to speak on this item? Seeing none, let's move on.
Item 4D and 4E, manager application of John R. Fritz for Aldi Inc., doing business as Aldi 25 at 8350 O Street. Also related, manager application, John R. Fritz for the Aldi 27 location at 8701 South 28th Street. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony is the truth as you really believe it to be?
I do.
Thank you.
Mike Kelly, 2804 South 87th Avenue here. Mr. Fitz has a good record. We're here for any questions that you might have. He actually has the cleanest record of anybody I've ever represented.
I did notice that. It's an excellent record.
That's where we're setting the bar now, right?
Try to keep it easy, you know?
Yeah. Do we have any questions for them?
No.
Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to come forward on this application?
Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Seeing none, let's move on.
Item 4F, manager application of Lauren A. Wegman for RAAJ Lincoln Leasey LLC, doing business as Graduate Lincoln at 141 North 9th Street. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give is the truth as you really believe it to be?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm Lauren Wegman, 7857 Gerald Avenue. I am just, we're switching the manager request over from our previous manager who's no longer at Graduate Lincoln. And I
Okay.
have taken the training.
Thank you. That was my question.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to come forward and speak on this item?
Mr. Chair, I move approval of items 4A through 4F.
Second.
Been moved and seconded by Councilperson Raybold. Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Christensen,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Okay.
Okay, that ends our public hearing liquor resolutions. We'll move on to section 5, public hearing resolutions. Item 5A is accepting and approving the report of due and pending claims against the city for August 16th through the 31st, 2020.
Anybody like to come forward to speak on this? Okay, seeing none.
Item 5B, approving a resolution supporting submittal of a land and water conservation fund grant for renovation of Irvingdale and Rudge Parks.
Good afternoon, Lynn Johnson with Lincoln Parks and Recreation, and I have a master plan that I would like to share with you this afternoon. The action before the City Council this afternoon is a request to approve a resolution that is related to a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant application. This is a standard provision of that grant. The legislative body is requested to approve a resolution in conjunction with an application. There's really 4 elements to that application. The first is that the city has secured the funds for at least 50% of the cost of the proposed project costs. And the total project cost is about $937,330. $400,000 of that is coming from the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant application. $380,000 has been identified through the CIP. It's funds that are appropriated within the capital improvement program. And $157,330 are private donations that we've secured for the project. The second is that the city affirms that it has the financial ability to maintain and operate this site. Both of these are existing park locations that we're proposing to renovate, so the city already has committed funds to operation and maintenance of these sites. The third is that the city will not engage in discriminatory practices in terms of allowing access to these improved sites. Parks in Lincoln are open to all, so certainly not a concern. The last one is that there's a commitment to ongoing use of the land for outdoor recreation. And this is really the provision that if the funding is granted and if we commit to it, we are essentially restricting or placing a deed restriction, or the equivalent of a deed restriction on these properties. That if there is interest in the future of selling the property or converting the property away from outdoor recreation use, it would have to go through an approval process where the Game and Parks Commission and the National Park Service would approve that before either of those actions could happen. What's in front of you on the Elmo unit is a master plan that was developed about 4 years ago for Irvingdale Park that is on the right-hand side of the screen, Stransky Park in the center, and Rudge Park on the left or on the eastern portion. You probably know that Irvingdale Park is at about 19th and Van Dorn Street. Rudge Park is at about 14th and Lake and Harrison Streets. This application is to make improvements to the 2 parks on the end of this coordinated park system, to Irvingdale Park and to Rudge Park. The planned improvements for Irvingdale Park are replacement of the aging playground equipment, and if you've been there, it is long overdue for replacement. We want to reconfigure and renovate the parking lot is there, install a new picnic shelter, do improvements to the pool that are really primarily moving the fence out and adding some green space inside the pool fence. And if you've been to Irving Pool, you know that it's relatively tight space around the pool there. Part of this overall system was to develop a loop walk, and so this would develop the eastern portion of that loop walk in Irvingdale Park, and then some landscape improvements. And then Rudge Park, in the western portion of this, would be to replace play equipment. It would be to close a section of 16th Street and convert that to green space. There would be a new entrance monument at about 14th and Lake Street. This would be the eastern portion of the loop walk, and it would also add some landscape improvements to that site as well. We're hopeful that we'll be able to secure this land and water grant, conservation grant. We should know about this probably early winter, and then we'd like to start construction next spring, early summer, and this is, we think, about a year's worth of construction. And I certainly would urge you to support this resolution, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Do we have any questions for Director Johnson? Yes. Councilman Christensen.
Mr. Johnson, am I remembering right that we did some channel improvements a few years ago on this park?
Yeah, in Irvingdale Park, there were some channel improvements that were done in cooperation with watershed management, kind of laying the banks back and helping to prevent some of the erosion that had been occurring along those channels.
And were we looking at, I recall something about an underground structure in this area?
One of the things that is a unique feature, perhaps, of Irvingdale Park is the city's civil defense shelter is in the center of that park at about 18th Street. This master plan looked at the possibility of removing that and converting that to a playfield space. The cost estimate on that is about $1 million. That's not part of this project at this time. It's something that, if there was an opportunity to do that in the future, it is valuable covered storage space, but it's a little bit of unique to have that civil defense shelter in the middle of a park, in the middle of Lincoln too, so.
And so because that's a underground structure, you can't really put anything on top of it.
That's true, that's true.
Yes, Councilperson Rabel.
Well, I just want to say, I walked this park on Sunday with our dogs, and the channel looks great. I mean, all the channel work that was done looks amazing. The new bridge structure over part of the channel is amazing. But yeah, it does, the playground equipment is so old, it looks like the same playground equipment I had when I grew up in the neighborhood. The swimming pool looks the same, and that would be great to expand it to some of the beautiful green space so that people have, and families have a more area to spread out in, which is great. And of course, I remember ice skating in Rudge Park for years and years, and as I got older, playing broomball too. But yeah, it's a park that's well-loved, well-used, and with all the improvements to Stransky Park, it's been really such a gathering place for the neighborhood, and so it's a much-loved and much-used park, so I'm glad to see and hopeful that this grant gets approved.
Thank you.
Yes.
Director Johnson, I'm just curious, it would be great if the grant comes through, of course, and construction would begin in the spring and summer, but does that mean that Irvingdale would be closed next summer if construction was happening in those parks?
We would phase the construction because obviously, barring any changes, we'd like to be operating that pool next summer. The tennis courts are very busy there. There is parking on 24th Street, so we'll probably look at a phasing plan to make sure that at least those two facilities are open during the summer.
All right, thank you very much. Looks good.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you'll be able to keep the pickleball courts and the tennis courts
The
open?
tennis courts will absolutely remain,
I
yeah.
know they're awful busy, and I agree. That's part that I kind of grew up with myself, too, so.
The
there's some-
playground equipment looked familiar, right?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. And I
It has
really-
one of my favorite pieces of playground equipment. I'm sorry it's so old, but you might make a lot of money if you auction it off.
Yeah.
You go up on Harrison Street. Huh. There's, the old bomb shelter. I remember doing tours and going through that, checking out all the canned food, and it was quite a, any chance of getting that back into any type of ice skating down there?
It's kind of been the victim of climate change, to be perfectly honest. It's probably been 15 years ago. We tried we have to use potable water to fill that area. And the last 2 winters that we did it, I'm trying to remember, it was between $300 and $400, if I remember right, to fill that. And the first thaw, it all soaks into the ground. And so we've kind of, even though it was a great use for that space, and I know it was incredibly popular in its day, it doesn't seem feasible anymore because there's no way to really hold the water in that space and then also be able to maintain turf there during the rest of the year. So when we had consistent cold weather, it was easy to do, but the kind of cyclical warm and cold weather that we get during recent winters, it just doesn't make it feasible.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay,
Thank you.
you bet. So we need to vote on 5A and BA. Okay, Sonia?
We can now vote on these items. Item 5A is accepting and approving the report of new and pending claims against the city for August 16th through 31st, 2020, introduced by Christensen.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded by Councilperson Ward. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Ward,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 5B is approving a resolution supporting submittal of a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant for renovation of Irvingdale and Rudge Parks, introduced by Christensen.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded by Councilperson Washington. Yes. Benny?
I just want to point out that it says grant fund. We're getting money from outside sources to help make our city better. No hit to the taxpayers, or limited hit to the taxpayers.
Yeah.
We have to match it.
Limited.
Limited,
We'll
yeah.
participate with a match.
Yeah. This is, our departments do this a lot, and I don't think they get enough credit for doing that. They are always looking for other ways for us to make improvements and finding funding to do this.
Okay. Any other comments? Please call the roll.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. That ends our public hearing resolutions. Section 6 is our public hearing ordinances, second reading, and related resolutions. I'll be calling items 6A, 6B, 6C, and D together. Item 6A is annexation 20004, application of Hampton Enterprises, Inc. to annex approximately 14.7 acres and adjacent rights-of-way on property generally located at South 70th Street and Yankee Hill Road, and the related annexation agreement for Harvest Hills between the city and Hampton Enterprises, Inc., and the change of zone 20005, the application of Hampton Enterprises, Inc. for a change from AG Agriculture District to B2 Planned Neighborhood Business District, and the use permit 20003, application of Hampton Enterprises, Inc. to allow up to 120,000 square feet of commercial floor area and up to 120 multifamily dwellings within the B2 Planned Neighborhood Business District, with waivers to allow shared parking, adjust the parking rate to 1 space per 300 square feet of floor area for all commercial uses, adjust setbacks, allow light trespass across lot lines, and allow sanitary sewer to flow opposite street grade on property generally located at South 70th Street and Yankee Hill Road.
Good afternoon, Nate Burnett with Rig Engineering. This is an exciting project that we've been working on with Hampton Enterprises, working with Planning Department and LTU. So it's located on the northwest corner. Here's Yankee Hill and then South 70th Street. It is for rezoning from ag to B2, a special permit for up to 120,000 square feet of commercial, 120 dwelling units, or a combination of the two. This area is tier 1 of the comp plan. You've got major arterials on both the perimeter of this use permit, Yankee Hill and South 70th. We had unanimous approval at Planning Commission. We had a great neighborhood meeting, although it was via Zoom. We had some good discussions with the neighbors. There was a couple things that had come up. One was traffic. This is Village Gardens is just to the northwest here, and this area was kind of always planned to be commercial, and we had a traffic consultant put together some numbers, and they actually found with mixing the residential, it actually lowered traffic, and so this plan that is before you today is actually going to be less traffic than what was kind of previously envisioned. There was some concerns about parking and landscaping, and if any of you guys have gone by Hampton's property, you know that landscaping is one of the fortes, and they take great pride in that. So with that, I would entertain any questions.
Do we have any questions? Yes.
Some of the neighbors raised the concern that Bridle Street or Bridle Lane is a narrow street. Is it set to our city standards of being the appropriate width for commercial?
Yes, I believe I have an exhibit.
And if so, how
there.
wide is it?
Yeah, let's see here. It's got that 66-foot right away, and then as you come in here, then it tapers down, and so there is it is up to city standards. So.
Okay, thank you. And then another question I have, some of the neighbors were already concerned that it's challenging to get out of the neighborhood on both Yankee Hill and on 70th Street. So is Bridle Lane set to be a traffic signal or a roundabout, or is it full turn? And what is the ingress and egress on Yankee Hill?
With this project, we are not taking any additional access points from what is currently already there. There's already South 67th Street, and so our connection would all be to existing public streets. So we'd have a connection here onto Chatsworth Lane, and then, like you're mentioning, we'd have a connection up here to Bridle which there's, I believe, an existing access point already there, and so we would just be connecting into that curb cut. Is that?
And sort of. So is it a full turn on 70th Street from Bridle Lane? Is it a full turn off of, you said 67th onto Yankee Hill?
Here's a future
Oh, okay, so
plan
Bridle
here.
Lane.
Sorry, I finally found the exhibit.
Okay.
So obviously, the roundabout here is been installed, and then there was a temporary right turn lane that was just recently installed coming southbound. Here you can see the perimeter. We've got 66 foot of right of way on both the west side for Chatsworth as well as for Bridle, and so the 66 and the 33 foot wide road would be your commercial right of way and street widths. So everything that's around this property is two standards into that commercial standard, and then in the future there would be that roundabout there to help with traffic efficiency.
Could you move your,
And then on
move it up a
the
little
south
so we
side?
could look at the
Yankee Hill.
Yankee
So
Hill?
here's the existing one.
Right.
Okay. And then the one, is that 67th?
This is 67th right
Okay,
here.
and then is that a full turn, or is it going to be another roundabout, or?
You know, that's a good question.
We can ask
I
David.
would think there's that. Yeah, I'm not for sure if Bob or David are here, but with Yankee Hill being a major arterial, I know they want to limit those access points.
Okay.
I know that was, they talked about safety and access. Were some of the neighbors concerned? And there was quite a few neighbors that, the other objection that they had was the 120 multifamily dwellings. I guess they were anticipating single-family residents. Was that in a previous plan?
Not that I'm aware of. This is just shown as conceptual, commercial on kind of the Village Gardens stuff. And so, again, we had FHU, traffic consultant, they put together just kind of a rough study of, with the 120 units, and they found that there would actually be less traffic with what's being proposed to having this all be commercial. We're showing enough parking for the residents, and so I think there's actually less trips with what is proposed than what was thought of, envisioned in this corner as being all commercial.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you,
Councilperson
Mr.
Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks so much for coming down and illuminating this project. I have a couple of questions about the exterior of the outdoor space that
Sure.
you've got planned here. I'd like to know a little bit more about the use of that space, the garden, the farmer's market potential,
Yeah.
concerts. If you could just talk a little bit more about what you've got planned.
I'm going to show a couple different elevations. So this first elevation is looking to the northeast. And so this is, Shemmers has been the architect involved with this. So we have looking northeast. Then view 2 here, this is kind of a central, I'll call it kind of courtyard there, where these internal streets meet. And so this is showing, the commercial on the bottom, and then living space above. And then this third view is looking northeast. And so this area is really thought of as, pedestrian friendly, being able to walk the shops and stuff like that. And then as far as farmer's market, let me get there. So kind of the thought is, these are just potentials.
Mm-hmm.
So this could be maybe a grocery store, a bank up in the northeast, the apartment here. And so this area here would be for outdoor seasonal, kind of that common courtyard area that we saw in that second view looking to the northeast up here. And so that could be the outdoor seasonal sales, the farmers markets, and that thing. And that would all be kind of just centrally located within this development.
Thank you. And if you could show us the trail connections. I know that there was some curiosity about how the trails would link in or run through this area.
Yeah, we had been coordinating with Sarah Hartzell on Future Trail, and so I believe that's on the east side here of South 70th Street. Yeah, here's the, let's see here. Here's that future pedestrian easement, kind of there on the east side of the project.
Thank you. That helps to have it pointed out. It was hard to read on the
it's
attachments that we had.
mhm.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you. Do we have any questions for David, Carrie? Okay,
Oh,
I feel
actually,
like there were some, weren't there?
there was.
yeah, we'll go ahead. Come on up, David.
Yay, David.
Director Carrie.
David Carey, Director of the Planning Department.
I think one of the questions that Jane had, was this always planned to be commercial, or was it red dotted early on in the comp plan, or?
Yeah, so I think part of that question was also, there was a comment through this process of the expectation that there might have been single-family residences in this location too. So there really was never an expectation of single-family residences. So it was the understanding that this corner would be commercial in some sense, and commercial always has the potential for some mixed use, which generally speaking, we like to see that anyways. So the proposal actually is something that we are in support of, that we'd like to see them pull off both the residential and the commercial in the same spot. So this is consistent with what's been shown before.
Yeah, I remember a long time ago when they started the Village Gardens, that they always had this as a commercial site on the opposite end.
Yeah.
So it'd be on either corner of that section.
Yeah. And then can you address what the future intersection looks like at 67th and Yankee Hill?
So for those of us that traverse that part of Yankee Hill Road, we all agree that that's sooner or later going to need to be improved.
Sooner.
In comparison, looking at that Bridle Lane and 70th Street intersection, so there's already that expectation that a roundabout, when the full improvement happens on 70th Street, that's generally speaking what will happen there. There has been that temporary turn lane has been installed for the traffic to work for now and perhaps for many years. To my knowledge, there is not a design yet for the stretch from Yankee Hill Road west of 70th Street over to what's being improved at the 56th Street intersection with another roundabout. But what I do know is that the expectation is where it meets access management, that roundabouts are likely to happen, similar to what is to the mile to the east over to the middle school.
Yeah.
So the design is not set in stone yet, but the expectation is that it will be designed similarly.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Oh.
Thank you. Yes.
Oh, just one more. One of the emails from the neighbor was concerned that they didn't have, or you maybe had just one neighborhood meeting? Do you know how many meetings you had?
There was one neighborhood meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to come forward to speak in favor or opposed? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on.
Thanks, Nate.
Item 6E, text amendment 20005, amending chapter 27.56, Capital Environs District of the Lincoln Municipal Code by amending section 27.56.050, membership to add a fourth ex officio member to the Nebraska Capital Environs Commissions, and repealing section 27.56.050 as hereto existing.
Good afternoon, members of the council. David Carey, Director of the Planning Department. Here as the applicant, bringing forward a request from the governor as a member of the Nebraska Capital Environs Commission. We received a letter to request that we add a fourth ex officio member. So The current ex officio members, we have 3 of them, which is the director of the planning department or their designee, director of the Parks and Recreation Department or their designee, and then the director of the DAS at the state level or their designee. And so this has been discussed for quite a while as being something that made some sense, mainly because the person that would be representing this position currently is the esteemed Bob Ripley, who brings an awful lot of acumen to the discussions at any time to the Capital Environments Commission. And there was some joking going on during this process that I think everybody thought he already was an ex officio member. But this makes it official. We do have the request from the governor's office to make this official. We are in support of it. The Capital Environs did approve this as well at their, let me check, July 24th meeting, and then the Planning Commission has confirmed that approval as well. It's before you. We support this. We think it makes sense. It does provide also some balance. There would be then 2 state-level ex officio members and 2 city members. The Capital Environs Commission is a state and city kind of joint commission, so it makes sense that way as well. We did take the opportunity with this change to make language gender neutral moving forward, so that's also part of this proposed text amendment. And with that, I can answer any questions that you have.
Any questions? Yes.
So are we calling this the Bob Ripley seat? Or once Bob is no longer on this?
Endowed chair.
Oh, I like that.
There you go. So what are we calling this?
So this is actually the Capital Administrator coming from the Nebraska Capital Commission. So the national, I learned this during this process, the National Nebraska Capital Commission was created in 2004 and formally created the Capital Administrator position, which is currently filled by Bob. And so obviously Bob won't be in that position forever, so it'd be that person moving forward. I'm sure the state will provide very good representation from that position at any time in the future.
But can we formally name it the Bob Ripley seat from now on? Or?
I suppose we can entertain a motion for that, but I don't think so.
I think that Mr. Ripley is.
Councilperson Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just trying to recall the makeup of this commission. If you could review that for us, David. Is this not defined also in state statute besides at the local level? I think Mr. Ripley is, his involvement is very key. He's a friend, and I think his contributions are many. So it's not about that. But I just, if you happen to know, I can't recall the total makeup and who, what positions those are.
Sure.
If you happen to know.
Yeah, so I'm just going to read off from the analysis from the staff report. So the commission includes 7 voting members and then 3 ex officio as of right now. There would be a 4th upon this action and approval. So I can just read through what in chapter 27.76.050, membership of the Nebraska Capital Commission, Environments Commission. It reads, the Nebraska Capital Environments Commission membership shall be appointed by the mayor with confirmation by the majority of the city council and shall include 5 members with due consideration given to appointment of an architect, landscape architect, an urban planner, a real estate developer, any member of the public at large. And then it goes on to say, the governor of the state of Nebraska, at least one of whom shall be a resident of the city of Lincoln. Sorry, misread that. The Nebraska Capital Environments Commission membership shall also include 2 members to be appointed by the governor, at least one of whom shall be a resident of the city of Lincoln. And then it goes on to talk about the current ex officio non-voting members, and then we would add language along with that to add the 4th ex officio non-voting member with this action. So that is they are appointed for 3-year terms. So that is the makeup of the commission as of today.
Okay, thank you. And so ex officio are appointed by the mayor or by the governor. I missed that.
Well, the ex
part.
officio, because they are spelled out in the ordinance, and then this change would also be spelled out, it would be those people in those positions.
Or designee.
Or their designee.
Correct. And how are they appointed?
Well, they are
Are they-
the voting members or the non-voting members, I guess.
The ex officio.
So they aren't technically appointed by the process of this. They are whoever fills those positions as they exist through whatever process it takes to get to that position. Then they would just be ex officio members of the Capital Environments Commission.
I don't think I'm asking this right. Is it a city process or a state process? So if I wanted to be on, who would I tell? I don't know if it's a state legislative process and appointed by the governor or city process appointed by the mayor. I'm not trying to make it difficult.
It's both.
Okay.
So for the voting members, there's 5 positions that are appointed by the mayor and then
Okay.
approved by the council. And then for the state level, there's 2 positions appointed by the governor.
And those
then-
2 would be, one would be Mr. Ripley.
Well, at that, right now, I'm referring to the voting members.
Okay.
And those are the full-fledged
Okay.
appointed
I'm sorry.
persons.
Yep.
And then there's the ex officios, which are automatically ex officio members from the positions, the planning director, whoever that is at the time, the Parks and Rec director, whoever it is at the time.
Okay.
And then there's this new position potentially, if approved, and then there is the director of DAS or their designees.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
So to be clear, 2 ex officio members come from the city and 2 from the state.
Correct.
Yes.
2 will come from the state.
Under this new way
Yeah.
of looking at it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, clear as mud. Okay. Any other questions for David? Is there anybody else who'd like to come up and speak on this item? Seeing none, let's move on.
Item 6F was amending Title 4 of the Lincoln Municipal Code to create a commission on the status of women and gender by adding Chapter 4.70 entitled Commissions on Women and Gender to the Lincoln Municipal Code.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Mindy Rush. I'm with the Lincoln Commission on Human Rights. As y'all know, the Lincoln Commission on Human Rights investigates allegations of illegal discrimination that occur here in Lincoln. We also work towards equity and inclusion for all Lincoln community members. A large portion of the discrimination cases that we, thanks. I wanted to honor Councilmember Raybould's comments earlier about Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So you've seen, so I'm going to take it off now. A large portion of the Commission's discrimination cases are brought based upon the protected characteristic of sex, and a large majority of the complainants who come to the Commission after they've been discriminated against are women, or they do not identify as men. Because of this, it's been a blessing for me to also serve as liaison for the Women's Commission with the City of Lincoln. And my office also provides the administrative support for the Women's Commission. Selfishly, I'm grateful for the work that the Women's Commissioners do to help educate community members about their rights and responsibilities, particularly their rights in the workplace, their rights in housing, and to do the outreach that they do in many community events and different platforms that they maintain on a regular basis. I'm also very thankful and use on a regular basis the data that they compile and analyze and disseminate regarding the Women's Voices survey that they do on a regular basis. Now, the Women's Commission Chair, Kathy Ermacher, is here, and she's going to provide a brief history over the Women's Commission and information about the great work that they've done over the past 45 years. What I can tell you is that my experience working with them in the past year and a half has been a great experience, and they're a group of one of the most active, diverse, inclusive, and really forward-thinking community groups that I've had the privilege of working with. I look forward to working with this group of community members that are very diverse. They bring a lot of different identities and life experiences to the commission. And they're also looking forward to working more with the other boards and commissions within the city that have a diversity, equity, and inclusion focus, like the Human Rights Commission, but also the Mayor's Multicultural Advisory Committee. In fact, just a couple months ago, the Human Rights Commission, the Multicultural Advisory Committee, and the Women's Commission participated in an Inclusive Communities workshop for advisory boards and committees that was very successful, and hopefully just the first of many collaborative efforts. As such, I'm just here to offer support for the proposed resolution 20-225, which incorporates the Women's Commission into the Commission on Women and Gender into the Lincoln Municipal Code. This codification is going to eliminate the necessity of the Women's Commission being founded via executive order on a yearly basis. And it's also going to provide some future-looking ability to work. For example, the Women's Commission can develop bylaws and then increase that collaborative effort with the other commissions, like the Human Rights Commission and the MAC Committee. Both the Human Rights Commission and the MAC are also codified in this similar manner. I think it's really fitting that we're here today in this important ordinance that was introduced by Councilmember Shob in honor of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but also it's the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which gave some women the right to vote. So if there are no questions, I would like you to hear from current Chair Kathy Ermacher next.
Do you have any questions for her? Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
down.
Thank you, Mindy, and thank you all for the opportunity to talk to you today about the Women's Commission. As many of you know, the first commission on the status of women in Lincoln and Lancaster County was created 45 years ago by an interlocal agreement initiated by Helen Busalas and Jan Gauger. That commission, as well as the Lincoln Lancaster Women's Commission, was active until 2006 when the interlocal agreement was terminated. Shortly thereafter, Mayor Chris Beitler created the Mayor's Commission on Women by executive order, and we have continued our work on behalf of women in the community since that time, and with the support of Mayor Gaylord Baird right now. Through the years, the Women's Commission have attempted to stay informed about the challenges and concerns of the women in our community and respond to their needs. As you heard, the Women's Voices survey that we do gives us data to drive our programming. As healthcare has been one of the most dominant concerns over the last 15 years, we host a successful women's health series on L&K Health Channel. Employment is also of course, an important concern, and that has resulted in research and seminars on workplace policies in areas such as family and maternity leave. We created a women-owned business directory for the city and county, and hold financial literacy seminars. Because more women have recently wanted to become more involved in civic areas, we have created civic academies where we brought people in to learn about the various levels of government and how to become more engaged on the city, county, and state level. Right now, we are writing a mini survey to gather information on how the COVID-19 pandemic is affecting women in our community, and are planning a series of programs on areas such as childcare, loss of employment, and evictions. We participate in lots of community events like Streets Alive and Juneteenth and the Lunar New Year festivities, as well as other public outreach events to hear concerns and keep informed. We have partnered with many strong organizations throughout Lincoln and Lancaster County who are doing good work, and we are always stronger working together. This ordinance, as you heard, will allow the Women's Commission to become part of the municipal code, having the same status as the Human Rights Commission and Multicultural Advisory Committee. But that's also an opportunity for us then to continue our work and to help whenever asked and in whatever way we can to help the One Lincoln Initiative, the Human Rights Commission, the Mayor's Office, and of course, all of you. I really want to take a minute to say thank you to Councilman Shob. I also want to thank the mayor and specifically all the many liaisons we've had to the Mayor's Office through the number of years that we've existed as the Mayor's Commission on Women, and specifically to Mindy, who has been a champion, and we've really enjoyed working with her. Adele Burke has also been very supportive, and of course, we really appreciate all of the work that the council does, and particularly in these difficult times. I'd be glad to answer any questions. I just sort of gave you the highlights, but I'm sure lots of you have heard a lot of other things about us.
Do we have any questions? No, thank you, though.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Would anybody else like to come forward to speak on this item? Seeing none, let's move on.
That ends our public hearing ordinances, second reading, and related resolutions. We can move on to our ordinances, third reading, and related resolutions. Item 7A is change of zone 20022, application of the planning director for a change from P Public Use District and I-1 Industrial District to O1 Office District, and from P Public Use District to I-1 Industrial District on property generally located on J Streets between South 6th Streets and South 9th Streets, introduced by Washington.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded by Councilperson Ward. Any questions? I do. Is David still there? Do we know? David Carey? If he's still around,
Yes, he is.
There he is.
Here he comes to save the day.
David, I got a question on you, for you. These properties will all still be most of them will be still in the city's ownership, correct? After we change the zone?
Yes, presently.
Okay. And people who are looking to purchase this, have we heard this is the type of zoning that they want on these?
I don't believe we've been hearing specifically what there's an expectation of the zoning is, but what we have worked on is the coordination of what the South Haymarket neighborhood plan says is the expectation of the uses there, and that this change of zone would be amenable to those uses. So we're setting it up to be consistent with that adopted plan.
But if somebody came along and said, I'll buy that property, but I want it to be a B2 zone, I guess you're setting up they would have to come in and ask for a change of zone, correct?
I think if there was a strong desire from a buyer that wanted a different change of zone that was needed to do what they wanted to do with the property, we would certainly have that conversation. My expectation and our expectation from urban development and planning is that we feel like this change of zone sets it up for the vast majority of what is likely to be proposed here.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and change it without knowing what the use will be.
I think that's true, although we have an idea of what we think it'll be.
Okay. Okay.
Director Carey, I'm sorry, you mentioned the South Haymarket plan. Is that a sub-area plan that was approved by Planning Commission and City Council at an earlier date?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, David.
I'll stay closer next time. Thank you.
It's fun watching you run. Okay, any other questions, comments? Please call the roll.
Can I get a clarification on who seconded that item, please?
It was
Ward.
Tammy? Yeah, Councilperson Ward.
Thank you. Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
I'm going to turn the chair over for this next item. I'm going to declare a conflict of interest.
Item 7B, change of zone 20025, application of Black Forest Holdings LLC from R1 Residential District to O3 Office Park District on property generally located at South 61st Street and Old Cheney Road, introduced by Washington.
So moved.
Second.
Introduced by Councilman Washington, seconded by Councilman Christensen. Any discussion? Being no discussion, I would ask for a roll call vote.
Christensen,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Someone want to go get our friend back? Thank you, Councilman Schob. Turning over the.
You could try.
I might hurt myself.
Yes.
Thank you. Should we move on?
That concludes our ordinances, third reading, and related resolutions. Section 8 is resolutions, first reading, items 8A through 8I. Section 9 is our pending list, items 9A through 9D.
It's open mic.
Yeah. So, anyone wishing to address the council on a matter not on this agenda and not planned to appear on a future agenda may do so tonight with the open mic session. Individuals are allowed a total of 5 minutes to speak, regardless of the number of topics. Who would like to come forward first to speak?
Miss,
Kinsey.
Jane Kinsey with Watchdogs of Lincoln Government. We want to give our support and condolences to the Lincoln Police Department and the Herrera family in reference to their loss. Mr. Herrera was a fine man and an asset to the LPD department and this community. The outpouring of support from the Lincoln community was outstanding and proves that the majority of our citizens do not believe in defunding the police or talk of an anarchist organization have any place here. This same sign should be a warning to council members who have abandoned or have condoned or outright supported such behavior. Overall, the sentiment of Lincoln is moderate to conservative, as are most Nebraskans. Woe to the leaders and ordinary citizens who try to push residents to a more liberal position. Recently, our mayor, Lincoln Journal-Star, and the city council have leaned in this direction. While all U.S. citizens and Lincolnites of a humanistic mind believe that human life is precious and deserves every chance to reach its potential, the way to reach that goal is the subject of fierce debate. It is sad and dangerous for the mayor, Lincoln Journal-Star, and the City Council to seek to side with forces that do not represent the view of the majority of honorable citizens of our city. Lincoln Journal-Star, as a member of media of information for all sides of an issue, is called the free press. However, it has chosen recently to side with liberalism and seldom presents moderate or conservative views. It was an affront to the Lincoln Police Department and Mr. Herrera's sacrificing service to our community to put a picture of a sign supporting the police next to a picture of someone holding a Black Lives Matter sign on the front page of the newspaper that was devoted to Mr. Herrera's funeral. There are other community issues and causes that Watchdogs wants to speak about. The StarTran bus system at present is a waste of taxpayers' money. Friends in various parts of the city, southeast, northeast, and west, have noted to us that large buses are nearly or totally empty that move on our streets. While during peak hours it may be more used, it is time to do a participation study over several months to see how much it is actually used and if there is a more efficient way to provide service. Such would be an on-call service by smaller buses or using them at off-peak hours. Someone has even suggested using the Uber transportation system and reimbursing them for each trip. In summation, Watchdog is taking the stand of warning public officials, local media, and those who would tear down our democracy that they are out of sync with the prevailing public sentiment. A word to the wise is sufficient.
Thank you, Jane.
Questions?
Any questions for Jane? Nope. Thank you. Anybody else like to come forward and speak tonight?
Good afternoon. I'm Roy Helm. I live on 2750 South 13th Street, and I hope I don't sound too terse. I am carrying some anger, but it has less to do with what I see here, who is here, and the politics and government of our city. It has more to do with what's happening nationally and the disrespect that's being shown to Justice Bader Ginsburg in trying to replace her before she's even been laid to rest. But that in conjunction with I know it's not applicable here, but our federal administration's attempt to both literally and figuratively whitewash our American history by not thinking that anything bad that happened or that we did should be stricken from the history books as if it never happened. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about something that I'm very pleased with in the city and what I've noticed driving around, and it's a simple thing, very simple. A lot of the lane markings, the striping, has been replaced and refreshed. And I know that there's a lot of street work that needs to be done yet. I know there are budget constraints, but it makes me feel good when I am driving down a street and I've seen that it's been freshly painted with markings so that we can see. And it's one less distraction, and I take it as a positive sign that progress is happening. And you know, that's not a liberal thing, it's just a thing. So I hope that you continue to govern with the thoughts and wishes of all people and for humanity. And I do appreciate the work that you do. I appreciate the work our mayor does. And keep up the good work. And although I'm concerned about what could happen with football being played in the Big Ten, as far as COVID's concerned, I've got to say, go Big Red. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that'd like to come forward and speak today?
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Mary Hilton. I had the privilege of meeting a woman, Janice, who is a director of one of the Gold Star daycares in our city. And she expressed some concerns, and I told her that I would come and advocate on her behalf tonight. I guess this afternoon still. So when COVID hit, the daycare centers were told that they were needed, that they were essential to be able to meet the child care needs of essential workers in our town. And it took a tremendous amount of resources to be able to reopen their centers to meet all of the health mandates that were put upon them. It was very hard finding the things that they needed, but many of them thankfully had some deep pockets, were able to persevere. But some did have to close, and that's put a strain on the ones that remain. Well, recently, the child care providers in daycares were told that they had to meet a new requirement, and that had to do with college-age students that worked for them being required to be tested fairly frequently for COVID. And this has just provided an extra strain on their system of being able to keep enough daycare staff to be able to meet the needs of their children that are in their care. The problem is that they are not on the list to be able to be tested rapidly. So that's the issue. And then you couple that with the high pollen count that we have this year, ragweed and seasonal allergies that many people suffer from. And so their workers, if they have a runny nose that drains back in their throat and causes them to cough, they have 2 symptoms. And then they have to stay home for 3 days and be tested for COVID. Well, because they're not on the rapid testing, they're not always able to get the results back in time. It just puts a backlog on their workers and who they're going to be able to staff to meet the needs of the children. And so these 2 things are creating a great strain on the child care providers in our city. And they appreciate being heard weekly on a Zoom call, and they're being heard, but no action is being taken for their needs of being rapidly tested, which will help a lot, because if they don't have enough staff, it's not like they can just go out and find somebody to work in their daycare. It takes a very long process of about a month by the time they're fingerprinted and have all the background checks, and some of those things have been very delayed. And so there just is a need, if they're being called to be essential enough, then they should be considered essential workers to being tested as well, I believe. And so they had this weekly Zoom call where they have expressed these sentiments, but there's not been action taken. So I just thought I would bring this to your attention and see if they might not be afforded the same protections that our football players get. That was kind of the straw that broke some of their backs on not being able to get rapidly tested when they heard that that was being afforded to the football players, but not our child care providers. So thank you for your time and attention to this, and that'll be all.
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Hilton? Yeah.
Ms. Hilton, you mentioned they were a Gold Star daycare, and I'd like you to define what is a Gold Star daycare.
Well, that is, I can give you the name of her.
Is that the name of the business, or is that the category?
No, more of a category of a nationally brand, and they want to provide the best kind of service that's out there in terms of their accreditation. They're a Gold Star.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to come forward and speak tonight? Okay.
Mr. Chair, seeing none, I would like to say remember the golden rule, and I move for adjournment.
Second.
Seconded by Councilperson Washington. Please call the roll.
Washington? Yes. Ward?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Christensen?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.